The internet has changed, so should the way you bank. PNC Virtual Wallet for digital banking. It's time for a change. Now through March 31st, earn up to $300 when you open and use a select new virtual wallet product. Simply establish a qualifying direct deposit. To learn more, visit a branch or pnc.com/checking offer. PNC Bank. Make today the day. Virtual Wallet is a registered trademark of the PNC Financial Services Group, Incorporated. PNC Bank National Association member FDIC.
You are listening to New Theory Radio. Theory Radio.
Hello and welcome to another edition of New Theory Radio here on iTunes and CFRE. I'm your host, Nav Nanwa. The show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And on this week's show, we're doing a special social media influencer edition. And if I'm doing a show like this, I have to call on some very important people, like my homie. She's back again for another episode. Nataleigh Ballantyne, who is an influencer manager for Jones Media. I think I got that right.
You got it.
Yes, and she brought a friend with her. Who'd you bring with you this time, Nataleigh?
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z is in the building. Yes. I thought like Jay-Z would be on the episode 100, but I never thought episode 7
well done.
Jay-Z would appear.
Yeah.
Jennifer Zies, what's going on?
Not much. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
She's an influencer marketing specialist.
Yeah.
So how does one get a specialization in that? Do you just follow a lot of influencers?
Yeah, you just know all the ins and outs of influencers. Yeah.
Really? Well, I'm super excited to talk to both of you regarding a couple of topics. You know, we normally talk about one topic in the current affairs realm and then one pop culture and then one everyday life. But, you know, I really feel like during the last few episodes, we've touched on social media quite a bit, that I really thought it would be great to do an episode around social media, specifically things that I see, that I noticed, and a lot of that definitely overlaps and is seen in the influencer world per se. And, you know, let's start things off right away. You know, one thing being someone that's based in marketing and that's running social media campaigns for various brands, influencers are being used quite a bit. And the one challenge that a lot of brand leaders are having when it comes to influencers is really identifying ones that are not only can convey your brand message, but can authentically sort of integrate your products or your services within how they communicate to their followers. But the one challenge I've been sensing is when I see an influencer, sometimes depending on their activity, I don't know if their follower count or their followers per se is as legit as I think it is. And fake followers and bots seem to be something that's been coming up quite a bit. And I would say, Nataleigh, this actually, this really crossed my mind when you shared an interesting graph on your Twitter page. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so at Jones, we use a software called Dovetail. And we are not the only ones, the only agency that uses it. It's very well known. And there's lots of different softwares available where we can take a handle from any influencer, put it through the software, and it will tell us your demographic, where your following is from, country-wise, and how many sponsored posts you do normally. And most of all, it tells us what percentage of bots is your Instagram following.
So for someone listening that doesn't know what a bot is, do you want to tell them?
So there's different ways that what a bot could be, but mostly it's a fake account. So it's not, and you won't get any real engagement. And how you would come across that most of the time would be buying them. So you can purchase, like just go online, search, buy my followers. And then it's, you know, for $25, you can get like 250
Is that
followers.
cheap?
Yeah, it's not expensive. That's why it's easy to do.
Wow.
And so they're not real engagement pieces on your content.
So, you know, the first question right from the get-go is, why is it that people are finding the need to not want to grow their followings organically and get this head start per se when it comes to how their social media pages are perceived? And maybe Jay-Z will ask you.
I think the number of followers is what people think is the first thing a brand is looking at. So if they have 10,000 followers right off the bat, it'll give them a head start. But from the brand side of things, that's just not the reality of it. There's so much more that they look at in terms of an influencer that they want to work with. So I think just the reason they want to do it is for that head start, but it's not an effective method.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you, because if I'm a brand manager looking to use influencer marketing to get my product out there, I don't want to talk to a fake audience, and for the most part, I feel like that's what's happening.
Well, you don't want. Not only do you not want to talk to a fake audience, you don't want to pay for a fake audience, right?
Exactly.
Like as a brand, you're paying this person based on their following, amongst other criteria. But yes, you are thinking, okay, I'm going to pay the certain amount because I have the power to influence and reach this amount of people through one Instagram account. So it's actual brand dollars that are going towards this. And if your following is 30% bots, then they're not reaching the amount of people that their following says that it is.
Must be interesting when Instagram has those purges and they just
It's
so
drastic
jokes,
changes.
actually I saw a drastic change to my account. Not to say I bought bots, but to my account a few weeks ago, and I was actually freaking out. And I was like, oh my God. Like I went down by like 40 followers, but it ended up being a glitch that Instagram had.
Yeah.
But I was scared. I was like, oh my God, all this time I thought my following was at this number, and it actually wasn't. It came back to normal after a day or two. But I thought I was getting infiltrated by bots I didn't even buy.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's
And
another.
there's
one at a time.
sometimes you'll have bots, and like the higher your following gets, it's more likely that you'll have certain accounts that are picked up as bots. Because
Really?
even if you don't have a profile picture,
Yeah.
like the platform that we use specifically picks up on different things to determine an account as a bot. So it could be their activity level, how often they're posting, whether or not they have a profile picture.
Yeah.
So maybe you'll have like 1% bots, but it might not even be a bot. It just depends on the level, right? So
But do you feel a lot of this happens because everybody now wants to be an influencer
Yes.
and wants to do these big brand deals and wants to gather attention?
yeah, for sure, because it's people see all these successful young people making money on Instagram and on social media. And it seems like the ideal gig. Everyone wants to do it. So they think by buying the followers, it's their way in. But it's not. And I think it's good that people are talking about it more, because it's becoming very open, like an open conversation. And these influencers know that we're looking at it, and everyone can see it. It's not a secret if you're buying bots. We show the brand. Like, we know not to work with you if you have 40% bot following.
It's almost like steroids for athletes.
Yeah.
Like you're cheating for the end goal of
And
getting
for
recognition.
other influencers, it's such a heartbreaking kind of pain point for them, for influencers who do have a really great engagement, that have, I guess, authentic following. They work really hard on their content. They, they've been doing it more, probably longer too, than most people who buy bots today. And so I would say in the influencer community, there's a lot of offline and other online conversations about, they do call each other out, or they'll bring it up in a Twitter conversation without saying who the person is, but they'll say like, this fashion blogger in Vancouver, blah blah, like, without actually saying their name, because it's frustrating as someone who is an influencer, or even content creator now is what they're more so going to be called, and where that's going to is now content creation, not just influencer. But it's frustrating for someone who has been doing it the right, or the proper way, I guess, to see people come up real fast, get that big brand deal, and they're like, man, you paid for all those followers. That wasn't even because you're a good person to follow on Instagram or YouTube.
And it's interesting too, because that's one way to do it, is to look up their bot following, but then there's like follow unfollow, which is another way that people gain followers. So they'll
I've
go
seen
through
that.
on like purges and follow like 100 accounts and then unfollow them all the next day. So
does that software use can it capture that too?
I don't think ours does, but there are free things that you can just put in a handle, and it'll show you their activity.
Like, it'll show the spike in the followings and unfollowing, and so it will be clear where you like did a whole follow and then unfollowed a bunch of people.
Because that's not organic either.
Yeah, it's not.
So
Actually, it's crazy you mention that because I've seen a lot of people do that. I feel like I might be guilty of doing that. not with my own personal account, but especially when you're launching a new product, a new event, a new service.
I know you have to follow people.
Yeah, you have to just to get the word out, and you're hoping that when people see that you followed them, that they'll go that extra mile to check you out and follow back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because I've always, like, whenever you ask a non-social media savvy person how to grow your following account, that's typically the first thing is like, oh, I follow like 1,000 accounts and hoping that 100 follow, and then the ones that don't follow I unfollow, or I just take 1,000 and when they follow me back, I just unfollow everybody.
Yeah.
Well, and also, when you see those contests that are big, like Contest Loop.
Yeah.
So let's say there's 6 or 7 influencers. I mean, I normally say it's a group of beautiful looking girls who want you to win a trip to Bali.
It's a fire festival, kind of.
Right. So they'll basically just say, like, to win, you need to like us and then like all of the other girls in the loop.
Yeah.
And then there have been times where that trip never happens.
Yeah.
It's not a real contest. It's just like because all of them have, let's say, over 100,000 followers.
Crazy.
Then they get everyone to follow, and then the picture from the post to promote the trip suddenly disappears. Excuse me, and there was no trip.
Why do you think people are so obsessed with their following ratio?
Well, it's like validation.
Yeah.
First of all, for yourself. I guess if you want to be an influencer, you want that. But like, I just noticed the other day that how many followers Kylie Jenner has. She only follows 125 people.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm very envious of that.
Well, it's Kylie
I'm
Jenner,
the opposite.
right?
I know. I mean, like, I follow way too many people. Let me see. I follow 3,400 people.
Crazy. I think the max on Instagram is 7,500.
And there's no way I see all of your content.
Yeah.
Like, I don't interact with all of these people at all.
Well, that's actually another interesting thing you bring up because I think I follow about 300 people, but I have over 1,000 followers on my Instagram, like my personal Instagram page. But when I look at my story views, it's always like it's never 1,000 people. I'll be honest. I'm not trying to expose my my story capabilities on Instagram, but I sometimes I take a look. I'm like, not everybody's seeing it. So does Instagram almost pick and choose what people see?
Yeah. So the algorithm on Instagram is like very unpredictable.
Really, eh?
And that's why it gets tricky when you're hiring an influencer and you're hiring them for what you see as their following, and you're expecting them to reach that following.
Yeah.
But if they have 10,000 followers, chances are they'll only reach 2,000 of those people.
Wow.
So it's another thing that brands have to consider. The follower number is like not even half of what is actually going to be of who's actually going to be seeing that content.
I feel like that's Facebook's fault. Like that's Facebook.
It's all because
fucking around with the algorithms, mainly because they want you to invest in ads.
Paid, yeah. It's all about putting paid behind it.
Yeah,
so, you can kill with paid behind anything. Like you can get 1 million impressions, no problem.
Yeah,
if you put money behind.
Well,
it.
even like me managing my New Theory Radio page, like I posted a video yesterday, and Facebook literally sends me a notification.
Yeah, to boost it.
Boost it $40, and you can hit 35,000 people. I didn't do it, but
sounds. $40, you're like, okay.
Yeah, it sounds cheap.
Yeah, it doesn't sound. But another thing too with following, especially when you have a massive following, is that brands do need to remember is, let's say I started out on Instagram as a skateboard photographer, right? So that was
actually?
like I'm just I forgot to tell you about my past life as a skater
girl with like.
But, like, say that was why, when I opened my account, that's what I was doing. So then I got a lot of followers for skateboarding and photography. And then I got a partner and we got married. And then my content started becoming more like planning the wedding and wedding content. So now I'm getting followers for wedding content. And then we buy a house in Hawaii and start this, like, beautiful-looking family. And now my content is family and Hawaii focused. So even as the brand, maybe I have now amassed 30,000 followers, but all of those people followed me for different reasons and at different times. So my content might not be relevant to 15,000 people now. They still follow me. Yeah. But now I'm talking about family life in Hawaii instead of my skateboard photography.
That's interesting because I think about influencers that my wife follows, mainly sort of in the fitness realm. And one of them I remember, had a kid, and she was heavy into fitness. So what she ended up doing was she was still doing her workouts, but her kid was almost in the corner, and it became a part of her brand of having her kid, in the background, playing around with weights or doing something funny while she was working out. But, to your point, I feel like if she had a kid and all of a sudden stopped working out and just started focusing on being a mom, then her follower base may not be as receptive to her new content. And that base that she's created may not be relevant for a brand. Wow, that's mind-blowing.
It's interesting to think about, because when this comes to mind from this one specific person that I follow who definitely started as a photographer and is now into mommy content.
Oh, it's like Jillian Harris. Do you follow her?
No, but honestly, if we could just not talk about Jillian Harris for one day.
My wife's obsessed with Jillian Harris.
Why is everyone?
She's selling her own filters now.
Yeah, presets.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Nav. Get into the lingo.
That's nuts.
That is a very number one way to make money on Instagram is to make presets for Lightroom.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because Kim K posted recently a photo of North on the cover of a magazine, and the first image is the magazine cover, but she writes in the description, I actually changed the color of the first image to match my the way that my entire gram looks. Mm-hmm. It's like, because I feel her entire gram aesthetic has this pastel, this pastel color to it, and then you swipe and you see the real cover, but she adjusted a photo of her own daughter just so it went with her entire Instagram page.
That happens with us too when we're doing contracts with brands. Is educating the brand on what an aesthetic is for influencers, because let's say your brand packaging is yellow and my Instagram is cool tone blues. I'm not going to post a photo of your product in the right color because it doesn't match my aesthetic.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I dropped a bonus episode over the weekend, and it was a different podcast than this one, but it's part of the same family. My aesthetic for my Instagram page and a lot of my marketing for this show is black and white, because I feel like it's consistent with everything that I'm doing from a branding standpoint. But the photo I posted was actually a pink background photo. And I was looking at it a couple days ago, and I was like, you know what? It doesn't really match with what I'm doing, so I deleted it.
You take down,
And hopefully,
Instagram themes are a real thing.
That's crazy.
Also, there's apps for you to program so that you could see if you're going to post your next photo. It will show you what it will look like in your feed before you post it, so you can plan ahead of what it will look like.
Well, Jillian Harris actually,
oh my god,
I think told because I hear all about this, because this is before we go to bed. Like, my wife's watching her entire life story, and I don't know why. I'm so tired of it.
Same, and I don't even follow her.
But she was talking about this Instagram software that can consistently change your top 9 photos that get displayed when you have that profile view. Mainly because I think she includes cell phone photos with professional photos. But then when you look at her Instagram view, just her account where it mentions her followers and her website, she'll have only the professional photos appearing.
Wow.
It was crazy, And I'm like, this is nuts. Like, even style of photos she's paying attention to, because she only wants professional photos to appear when you first look at the profile, but then when you actually go deep into the photos and you're scrolling, you'll see everything.
Like
That's
her
nuts.
real life ones.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That is nuts.
Just to close this topic off, because I feel, the one thing I love about this topic is we can go down this black hole and really assess a lot. I myself am becoming quite the bot police when it comes to people I follow and what looks suspicious. There's a couple people I know that are amazing people. I won't mention any names. But I get a little curious about their. No,
then
I don't.
They can come out here.
No, we're not naming any names. If you want to name a couple names, feel free.
Okay, I'll fight.
Savage. Natalie's going sicko mode. And there's times where, hey, by all means, they might be popular, but the same person that I know has 11,000 followers when they're only following 300 people. Come on. It just doesn't make sense.
And how many likes are they getting? Sir, you have 11,000 followers. What, 198 likes?
And then there's also people that I know that have bot followers, and when you look at all their likes, they're all within the same number.
Yeah.
They're either in the thousands, and it's a random number.
Or when you get the duplicate comments that are all the same.
Totally.
It's easy to tell. It's not. I think that's just one thing, and that everyone has to remember is that we can see it, that you've bought followers. It's easy to tell when your engagement isn't real, and brands know this.
But in real life, should you trust someone that buys followers?
Like as a person?
Yeah.
Does that make them shady?
I don't know. Does it? That's what I'm trying to think. Like,
Well,
it's
okay,
just,
think
it
about
talks
the
about their
people
character.
that
No.
Okay, think about the person that you're saying that you might know.
Yeah.
Is this the only shady thing about them? I'm gonna say no.
I feel like I'm putting myself into a bit of
Okay,
a.
I'll say no.
You'll say no.
I'll say that. I mean, wait, what's the question? Yes, I'm saying yes.
Should you trust someone that buys
Yeah.
followers on
Okay,
Instagram?
so yeah, I'm saying no.
You'll say no.
Yeah. Don't trust the bot following buyers. I don't know. That's hard to say because some people, let's say it's for a business brand. Like, what if it was for a corporate box store brand? Like,
Yeah, it
do you
could
really
be.
care if Costco buys followers?
Well,
Personally,
Yeah, if you're not
does that happen though? Do some companies, some big name companies who really want to start their social media presence, will they buy maybe 10,000 followers right from the get-go just to get a head start?
I don't know if they would, but they would
I've
probably
never
be
looked into it.
Yeah.
advised. I'm sure someone would come in and say, like, a fast way to get ahead.
Or they just have somebody like on social media engaging like constantly. Like they
Consistently.
have like a dedicated person.
So actually, Jennifer, let's ask you, because of how youthful you are. If somebody wants to grow their social media follower account and doesn't want to necessarily pay for followers, what are some tips that you would recommend for them to really get engaging with their content?
I think it's all about consistency. So posting every day and posting good quality content is definitely the biggest thing, because the more people are engaging with your content, the higher it's going to show up in the Instagram algorithm in other people's feeds. So just like constantly being consistent with your content and the quality of it, as well as your engagement with other people.
Yeah.
So whether you're commenting on all your friends' posts or like liking stuff in your explore page and just really putting your name out there as much as you can in an organic way. So you don't have to buy followers to get followers, but you just have to put yourself out there in other ways. So what are other ways that you can do that? You can follow other accounts, you can comment on their photos, reply to their stories, and just create meaningful engagements with people that will make them want to follow you back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What advice, actually wait, before we close this off, because I find that we can talk about this topic for a long time, we won't. Being that you guys both have worked for or are currently working for influencer-based agencies, have you ever been in a situation, and you don't have to name the client, that you've had a difficult conversation with them regarding a follower that they really wanted to work with, but then after an analysis that you guys did, you found out that they weren't as authentic as they thought that this person would be?
Yeah, I think it happens all the time. Like, they might love the content, but when we dig into Dovetail and we get these metrics for them,
Yeah.
and find out it's 40% bot following, even though they're a really well-known person, that reach isn't there. So there are ways around it now, and like as Nataleigh was saying, it's influencers are moving towards content creators now. So if you really like somebody's content but you know you're not getting that reach from them, you can just use paid media through their account. So it just comes down to whether the brand is willing to invest that money elsewhere, or if they really just want to rely on the influencer and their following. But brands they might like somebody and have us dig a little bit deeper into their accounts.
Yeah.
And then we go back to them and they're like, no, we're not going to use them.
Have you ever had a situation where a brand wanted to create their own influencer?
No.
Or have you seen
I
it?
haven't, no.
No way. That'd
But
be
I know that
interesting.
brands are trying to bring people in-house
Yeah.
to do that. But I think that's probably somewhere they'll go. Like, why wouldn't you have your own in-house creator?
Or even like your own brand bot, right?
That's true. Like an automated.
I feel like this topic can go really deep.
Did you see that ad or a campaign? Actually, it was for like a French, I think it was Addict Aid, and that's exactly what they did. Is they created this influencer. So they had her just like posting really glamorous photos, like her in her bathing suit on a boat, and like doing all this fun stuff, living a very lavish.
She always had a drink in her hand.
Yeah, and she always had a drink in her hand in every photo.
Yeah.
And it turned, so she got hundreds of thousands of followers.
big
Maybe
following.
I'm exaggerating, but she got like a bunch of followers, and then it turned out that it was all for a campaign, and this girl, it was for an addict company.
Crazy.
A French company.
Wow.
Yeah, so they created this persona. People loved it because it's beautiful content. And then they came out with this video kind of explaining the whole idea behind it. But
And what
pretty
about that
interesting.
influencer that's digital?
What?
There's like a very famous fashion influencer. Why can't I think of her name right now?
And like she's fake?
She's
real?
not a real person.
What?
It's a digital person. But they photo her in with like Karl Lagerfeld, R.I.P.
R.I.P..
Like, you know, like she's... Oh, it's really annoying that I can't think of her name.
I never heard of this.
Anyways, she's like... It's a digitized person, and she has a huge following.
Do people know that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the future, you think?
Oh, it's so scary.
The future is very scary.
Because think about it.
Wait till you find out, Jen. You're so young.
I know.
No,
so much
I
more.
just
So much
wanna-
more youth ahead of you.
Shane Dawson
Don't get
has
blinded.
this conspiracy theory
Yeah.
documentary series.
Yeah.
And, oh my gosh. There's this one thing about how you can take somebody's face and their voice and create like whatever you want them to say.
Yeah.
So there's a video of Obama giving this speech, but it's not Obama. It's just like, what do you call it? Like 3D imaging and
Oh,
like
wow.
voice control.
Technology is wild, my
So
friend.
it's just like people can manipulate anything they want
Yeah.
now, and anyone has their hands on it. So it's just
Well, think about
terrifying.
you could just take a selfie and Photoshop the background. Literally never have to
Totally.
leave your house.
Totally.
And just like set up a background like here,
Yeah.
have a green screen,
And that's it. And just
and you
change
could
it
just
up.
create this entire identity and life that is completely fabricated.
I feel like we can do an entire episode on catfishing. Totally.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? Let's move on to our next topic because it definitely relates to fake followers and bots and the power of being an influencer and how everyone wants to be an influencer nowadays. Is we're seeing quite a lot of these social media influencers / personalities / content creators taking hiatuses or taking breaks from social media. Obviously, amongst ourselves or amongst your friends, social media declines is always a good thing. But when you try to take one, when social media is a big part of your job, it's somewhat risky. It's somewhat of an interesting move to make because you do risk almost losing that popularity that you once had. But then you also are facing constant pressures to deliver quality content and be engaging and really putting your life out there. And when we've seen a couple hiatuses lately, Lily Singh is one that comes to mind. I told you guys earlier about FouseyTube and how he had almost a mental breakdown that caused his hiatus. Did Logan Paul take a hiatus a little bit after that stupid video that he put out?
Like 2 weeks.
2
It
weeks.
wasn't
Okay. Yeah.
And he even says like it wasn't a break. Like he needed more time, but
Yeah.
he made a. Did you watch his like year review video?
No.
He talks about it.
Really. So you're starting to see a lot more of it.
Yeah.
And the one thing I wanted to ask the both of you about is before I ask that question, the other thing that's really prevalent is celebrities who by default are social media influencers just based on their popularity in music and movies. A lot of them take social media hiatuses. The Cardi B took one right after the Grammys because of some of the criticism that they get from people that just don't like who they are. So sometimes I think about I can't imagine being a celebrity and seeing my social media feed and just the amount of crap that you deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get your theories on social media hiatuses for celebrities and influencers and whether you think they're actually effective as well. Do you feel like this will eventually start an anti-social media movement, or is this just the price of fame and people are going to get criticized no matter what?
I think, like an influencer, once they get to that point, they are celebrities. Like they have paparazzi following them, and they're putting themselves in these positions where they have a following and they're committed to the content. So I think that, like social media hiatuses already are a thing. Natalie was saying, like you even see it in our friends. Like people just need breaks from social media. But if you're committed to this as a full-time job, it might be helpful to just step away from it, but it's never going to go away. And there's always going to be negativity. And I think you just have to learn. Like, it's the same as a celebrity. Like, Justin Bieber had to cancel his tour. And even though it wasn't, like, a social media influencer, I think just the pressure of being famous and having all eyes on you all the time obviously is going to get to you. So it's just finding that balance and what you can do to cope with. There's always negativity. It doesn't matter who you are, right?
Think about being in your own job, right? Especially if you're in a creative role, okay? You as your own person go to this office and you have this creative job that you're supposed to perform at every day. For us, let's say every day or weekly, there's like a certain number of RFPs we have to come up with an idea with, put out the right people. And if you're doing that constantly in the same environment, then like you need a break to kind of refocus on, mostly for these influencers, I guess it's like to go and find their why, like why they started YouTube, why they want to connect with their audience. But even as a person who's just a creative, it's like you need to go and do something else in order to get some kind of inspiration. So if you're constantly pressured by 1 million followers on YouTube every day to put out something hilarious, and your life just isn't funny right now because you're just caught up in the machine of the content, then you'd have to take a break just to kind of get a new perspective so that you're able to go back to being high performing.
Yeah.
On the other side, though, it is also kind of trendy to take a break, right? So sometimes you go and do this, you're going to go on a hiatus so that you could come back and like stir up some drama for yourself in order to like make your comeback and then have this nuance of Natalie's back, the return of the Jonas Brothers, for example.
Oh yes, we can't forget about the Jonas.
I was listening to Elle Mills talk about this because she took a social media break and kind of filmed what happened, and just I think it was the pressure of everything getting to her. She's so young and like received everything that she ever wanted from her career at such a young age, and just the pressure of everything became too much for her. But it was interesting to hear her talk about it because she was like, from other people, they were like, well, just stop doing YouTube. If it's stressing you out so much, just stop doing it. And she's like, but I can't. Like, this is how I'm making a living. I like doing it, but like, how do I find that balance? You know, like it's her job. You have to go back at some point, right? I guess you don't have to, but yeah. So
and that's what's mind-boggling about this, about the social media influencers and content creators, especially in this day and age, where I feel the beginning of this decade was when they all started popping off.
Yeah.
And now that we're approaching a brand new decade, you're starting to see that burnout taking place, which I think a lot of us never thought would happen, even though it's prevalent in other industries. You see it all the time in music, see it all the time in movies. Yeah. But now that's happening to social media influencers, people that maybe you and I, all three of us, have maybe known maybe in person as well.
Yeah.
It's scary because you know for a fact that these influencers all started as everyday people. And they were able to accumulate these followings organically and hopefully organically. And they were onto something with a piece of content, but somewhere down the line, I guess the fun disappeared and it became more of a job.
But also, a lot of the content is so similar.
It is
now, right?
very much so.
There is
listicles and
there's a structure on how to make good performing
things my dad said,
and just like the way girls pose in pictures, the type of backgrounds, the color, like even just back to aesthetics, the preset colors do better than regular photos. So now it's way more calculated than just you and I showing up to this party that we got invited to for the MTV Awards, whatever the much music thing is, like that. Then it was just like, oh, we're the only. I think it's just like anything when it first started, it was more, this is kind of an insider look.
Yeah.
It's like we don't have access to this party, and now all of a sudden we do. And now content is just like, let's stage everything.
Oh, it's a lot of staging.
Right? Everything is just like, yes, we're going to take this really beautiful family Christmas or holiday photo in front of the tree, but then the caption is like about the Oreo cookies on the table. So it's not really a photo of your family.
It's almost, well, and to that point, big business or big brands, as soon as they started getting involved with these content creators, And again, it's sort of bringing our first topic full circle because people obviously want to become influencers, so they get that brand money. But as soon as they started infiltrating and started utilizing a lot of these influencers to get out their brand message, I think that's when you started to see a lot of unauthenticity and a lot of people being very disgruntled about some of the content that they were seeing from their content creators because it just didn't seem as real as it used to be.
Or it's sponsored.
Yeah, because I remember when YouTube influencers started blowing up and started being a sort of a part of my life, it was almost as if you were a fan of an indie band, right? Like, you were...
Well, YouTube followers have, like, insane fandom.
Totally. Oh, yeah.
Like,
it's crazy to see, like, Buffer Festival and all that. Yeah. Like, shutting down streets in different places. Like,
or in the mall with your boy.
James Charles was here, and, like, Square One was just, like...
It was random.
There was, like, 10,000 people there.
What does James Charles do?
A makeup artist.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
tutorial.
Yeah. He's like the face of Olay or something, right?
CoverGirl.
CoverGirl, yeah.
What is
sorry.
it called?
I don't think he has
Morph.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
now what it's called.
Natalie's like, did you see what happened at Morph? I'm like, Morphe?
Same.
But it's funny you mentioned, Nataleigh, that you think people are doing this just out of trend, too.
Because everything's a trend, right?
Yeah.
Like, how often, especially if you feel the need to say, hey, guys, it's Nataleigh. Welcome back to my channel. I just want to let you know that I'm going to be taking a break, and I'm not going to be putting content out for, like, the next 2 months. But if you follow me on Instagram, I'll probably, like, post a photo or two there, so, like, you can still keep up with me. And, like, don't worry, I'm still sponsored by Perrier, so, like, you can still use your code Nataleigh Perrier when you get your new, like, it's just like...
Yo, if you start getting those Perrier checks, call me. I love Perrier.
Well, I do love Perrier. But I do think it's a trend. And then so I do think it's a trend, but also in a good way. So I would say there's a influencer, her name is Lauren from This Renegade Love is her blog. And she took a hiatus over the holidays. So she did all of her sponsored content still, but she made sure that she planned everything before the holidays and was able to give herself a full 2-week break because she knew that also you are an influencer, you are a real person at the end of the day, so you need to have time with real people and, like, over the holidays obviously go to your family, whatever that you have planned, so that she could really be present in the moment with her actual family. And now she says that since she did that, she's actually changed her habit into logging on. So, I'm assuming most of you listening, you wake up, your alarm goes off, you pick up your phone, and you literally go to Instagram right away. She has hers signed out so that if she does that, like, it's the login screen, so that she's triggered to make that decision now. Like, do I actually want to, the first thing I want to do is go and feel horrible about myself. This is me now, not this Renegade Love. And, like, all the other things people are doing. Right? So, like, I think it is a trend, and then I think that there also is a good movement on protecting, like, yourself, like, self-love and your mental health, and there's a bigger reason on why you have to get offline for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even from a personal standpoint, what if you're recommending a social media cleanse to anybody right now, what would be the way to do it, considering that we're all connected through smart devices and we somewhat, even though we all have a smart device now, there is a functional aspect to it, to using the phone or even using it as a GPS. But
delete Instagram off your phone. Delete the app. Log out. Don't delete your account because we all know you're coming back. But, like,
Me.
Yeah, we did do that. I did it over the holidays too. But yes, like, log out, delete it, and you will be amazed how many times I would be driving and hopefully no police are listening, but, like, the instinct to pick up your phone when you have a lull in a moment, and then all of a sudden you look at your phone and you're like, oh yeah, I don't have that app, and you just continue on with your day. And then also back to, like, you're not bashing yourself for, like, not being on a top 30 list and not being sponsored and not being a YouTuber. I don't know, however you people feel out there, not me myself, but just delete it. Do it.
It's funny you mentioned that.
As much trendy it is, I also recommend you doing it.
No, but it's totally true, because I find a lot of people get the anxiety of status through social media.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this person's living their best life, and I'm over here sitting at a desk, miserable.
I have a thing about that I've realized lately, though. I'm going to theorize something for you, just to remember everyone, if you are an influencer or you're using Instagram as a tool for your business, Instagram is just that. It's a tool, and the audience is not for like, you are not everybody's audience. So I might be following some people who use Instagram for their business. I am not their audience, so their content is annoying to me. But I then have to remind myself, like, this isn't for me. They're not trying to sell their product to me because I think they're whack. But some people obviously want to buy it. So I think another thing to remember is, like, before you start beating yourself down on, especially in the influencer world, is it is literally the influencer's job to sell you on this product or to sell you this idea of this lifestyle, and that they literally got paid to do that. So some people, yeah, you're really fit on Instagram because brands pay you to stay fit. So if someone paid me to work out, I'd probably try a lot harder. If someone paid me to be a wing critic, I'd also love that. So,
Oh, I'd love to be a chicken wing critic.
yeah. So
I
just
love
remember,
chicken
you're not
wings.
always the audience for all of these posts, especially if it's your friends, or just mute them, which I also do.
Sweet. Actually, muting's like a whole different thing too, because I find that is muting just the polite way of unfollowing.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you don't want to see it, just hide it so
Yeah.
that it's not there anymore.
That's hilarious. Yeah, because I remember being introduced to muting, and
Can you mute posts? I thought you could only mute stories. Could be wrong.
No, you can
people.
mute. I've muted people
Yeah.
on Twitter, and it's not even for me. Again, I'm at the point now where I don't give a fuck. So maybe I should just unfollow them. But for me, I only did it because I found them annoying.
Yeah.
They were constantly posting stuff that I didn't care about.
Yeah.
But I know them personally, not to the extent where I, call them out on it. But I just didn't want to bother. I was like, you're infiltrating my. And I remember once there was someone I muted, someone that I actually think was is actually a pretty cool person. But just they're on social media, they're very opinionated. And I remember at one point, I guess they were against abortion, and they started posting graphic photos,
Okay,
and then they were against they were against being they were actually vegans. They were against anyone eating meat. So they started posting graphic photos of animals, and to that point, I was like, you know what, I got to mute this person. And then I remember unmuting them, and then they actually posted about how. Like, it was almost an apology, but not really. It was, hey, this is my platform.
Yeah.
This is how I feel. My apologies if you think what I'm posting is graphic, but everyone needs to know. And if you don't like it, feel
Then
free to unfollow.
unfollow.
And
Yeah.
I was like, wow, crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, all the power to you. Everyone's
gonna do what they want.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, don't follow it. There's no way to.
and there's no point of, like, starting a fight on Instagram about it either. Like,
No.
move on.
Yeah.
That was the one thing we
it.
brought up last week with the episode that we did was around not every single thing you see on social media deserves to be commented on.
No.
Sometimes you just have to let people be and not let it affect you.
And also, like, people are allowed to feel things about other things that actually don't need a whole
Yeah.
reflection piece on it. Why you disagree with it.
And everything's so commented on that, like, if something bugs you, just think of, like, all the millions of trolls out there that are already, like,
yeah, someone is handling
know?
it for you. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
there's a million people already giving them.
Some guy in his
Yeah.
underwear is literally trolling someone for you, so don't stress.
Oh my god. Let's move on to our last topic. This is actually a really, really deep conversation. I love it because a lot of this is stuff that I think about being an active social media user when I'm even looking at my own account. Sometimes I think about how I'm being perceived by my followers.
Yeah, of course.
Mainly because sometimes I am guilty of the odd humble brag here and there, but sometimes I use social media for myself as a way to just promote the stuff that I'm doing, and for my own sake, just to log everything so I have a memory of it. One thing I really did enjoy about last year, specifically on New Year's Eve, was when Instagram was bringing back everyone's old posts from the year and just reminiscing about some of the things that you did that you may have forgotten about. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I'm glad I'm able to log those experiences using social media. But the one thing I will say is I remember once I was having a conversation with somebody, and somehow this other person came up and they were like, I really can't stand their social media feed because I feel like every single day they're either getting promoted or they're getting a brand new car, or you know, they just won the lottery. It's like every single thing they post is some type of milestone.
Person I've
and then there's this you know, there's this grind mentality that everyone's on, where it's, you know, no sleep gang, and I'm out here, I'm getting it, you know, I'm making things happen, all the superficial stuff to show people you're hustling, when for the most part you're probably not. But self-promotion on social media is huge, and I'd love to get both your theories on, you know, whether or not you feel that the humble brag is being done way too much from when it comes to people that are in your life that are using social media, and do you find, like, I actually, you know, let's fast forward, let's rewind a bit. What's your theory on self-promotion on social media, and whether or not, and the reasons why it's happening? Do you feel it's happening because people are looking for the likes, or are looking for the encouragement? Or do you find that people are maybe tone deaf to it, and they're just posting because they're happy, and they're not realizing that their entire feed is just them winning awards, and that's it?
I think that because, like we were saying, there's so much negativity all the time. When you have an achievement, most of the comments are probably going to be like, oh, congratulations on whatever milestone you're posting about. So it could be just a fish for nice things, you know, like a way to get people to say things that you want to hear. But I think there should be a line that's drawn. Like, obviously, if people are following you, they're not following you to see, like, for you to be bragging to them every day, essentially, right? So if you're an influencer who's supposed to be putting out all this beautiful content and it's all about you all the time, your followers are going to get bored of it. So I think there has to be a balance between, it's just like sponsored posts, you know, like you don't want every post to be a sponsored post, but you don't want every post to be about your personal achievements every day either. I think having an equal balance between all sorts of content that you know resonates well with people. But at the end of the day, if somebody's doing that and you hate it, you don't have to be following them. If it really pisses you off, you can just unfollow them, right? So
that's true too. And on the flip side of it, you know, if you had someone who's not happy with their life, and they were posting consistently about how unhappy they were,
you might be worried about them.
Yeah.
I think it's just very strategic in most cases. I think that it, unfortunately, as annoying as it probably is, it works in the case that they're doing the humble brag and they get the next speaking engagement, or they get their book published, or they meet Oprah, or, you know, like,
I think, your successes should definitely be celebrated.
For sure. I think it should
To
be
a certain
celebrated.
extent,
But I
you know?
think that the crap thing about it is, like, I know a few people who it is like their whole feed most of the time, you know, is I'm launching this and I'm doing this and whatever, and it's working for them, so that's really great. But that is their whole persona online, is like how great they're moving, specifically, let's say, in their career. And on the fact of the matter is that, like, it works. Like, it allows them to have some kind of authority in that industry or in that market, where people are believing, okay, like, this person is someone that we should now be on a panel at our next conference, or because they're obviously know what they're talking about, or doing well, or know the right people, and that is their persona, is this, like, successful hustler who's doing all the right things. So it is annoying, but I think it works. So
And it depends on who it is too. Like, I immediately think of Jake Paul, who I know you guys love so much. But he plugs his merch probably like
all
15 times in a video. So it's like,
now, has he plugged it to an extent that you bought it?
no, I'm not one of those Jake Paul fans.
You're not into merch culture?
No.
I'm into merch culture, and I'm way older than you.
But not for Jake Paul.
No, definitely
You're not
not.
buying Jake Paul
No.
merch. But
concert merch,
Yeah,
I
concert
was
merch,
telling Natalie this earlier. It's so annoying, but like for his 10-year-old fans who are like, think he's the greatest human being on earth, it works. And I read somewhere that in 2018, like, most of his money that he made was from merch sales.
Really?
So it's working.
Crazy.
So it's annoying, but if it's putting them in a position that's creating them successful business or more successes wherever it may be, then why would you not do it?
Plus, if you're younger, let's say your target demo on YouTube is younger, where the kid isn't actually like, if I have to go to my parents and I'm just like, hey, rich parents, can I just swipe your credit card that's already on this? Swipe it. That's already on the computer.
What era do you live in? No one swipes their credit card anymore.
But it's so easy to make a digital transaction, is what I'm trying to say.
Apple Pay when you use Apple Pay.
Imagine you're 10 and that's all you know too, is like just hit pay.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I would always have to consult my parents about purchases.
Is there how would you describe a balance between someone's social media feed and being humble, but also sometimes wanting to stunt on the gram per se? Like how does one find that balance where, hey, maybe I do want to big up myself, but then maybe there's times where I don't.
Like, it 100% should be celebrated. If you have something super awesome that happened to you, your followers are gonna be happy for you too. Like, they're following you for a reason, and personal growth is a great thing. So I don't think it should be avoided altogether, but I think just be conscious and see how your followers how it resonates with them. If the comments are like, people are going to tell you if they're annoyed with your content, if you're like, once you're up there and you have enough followers. So if you see people commenting like, we get it, you bought a new house, stop posting about it, then maybe take that as a lesson that they got it the first 3 times and you don't need to make 12 posts
and I think that it makes a difference though too, like if you know them personally, where their persona is a little bit different online, but there's things that are the general influencer, their general audience wouldn't know about steps to how they got there.
Yeah.
Whereas you know them personally, so it's just like, well, yeah, you could buy a house because your parents gave you $15,000, or you lived at home for. I
feel like you want to put so many people on blast right now.
Man, I do. It's really annoying.
But to your point, there's so many of these people that I see online that are living their best life and are rising and grinding every single day. Bravo, round of applause. But then to your point, when you meet them in person, you get a sense of who they actually are, and that's, for me, being a marketer, that's false advertising, and that's what bugs me the most, is when you meet someone. If your parents
bought you your house in this real estate market, you better damn say that someone helped you and not act like you had the money for a $1 million house downtown.
It's rise and grind, Nat. It's rise and grind every day, all day, every day. You're making money in your sleep. That's
I'm trying. Otherwise, then, tell the rest of us how to do it. Except for that is how most people are. If I see another thing about like how to do a better LinkedIn post, is that a real thing?
I don't know. I haven't toyed with LinkedIn yet. I find that with a lot of the stuff that I do, I should maybe toy with LinkedIn, because I find that maybe people will be interested because of some of the topics. It definitely works
for people that I know.
But it does. There's some people I know that are killing it on LinkedIn. And a lot of the stuff they're posting is not rocket science.
No, nonsense.
There's a lot of people that have sent me messages on LinkedIn about like newsletters or podcasts that they have, and like based on my LinkedIn profile they think I'd like. And now I'm like subscribed to them and listen all the time. So I think it could be a really effective tool. Not even posting, but just reaching out to people who have similar interests with what you're trying to do. Actually,
I had a funny LinkedIn invite a couple days ago. I was trying to tweet about it. Actually, we should probably share. This is totally off topic, but I had someone reach out to me being like, hey, I'd love to connect with you, Nav. I feel like you and I are like-minded. And that was it.
Okay.
You're like, what does that mean?
And I literally, I wanted to put a question mark, but I just didn't accept it. I was like, what do you mean like-minded? Like, do you know me? You don't know me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who you are. And I remember looking at her profile, and she was based in a different country, and I was like, no.
There's a lot of weird people.
Yeah, and people assume, and this is a whole different topic on its own. I think we should probably cover this on a future episode.
DMs
but just
we should talk about.
Oh, DMs. Only if we can read Jay-Z's DMs online, like over the air. Then
hers will actually be so good.
but I'm just saying, like the online networking tactics that people use, how some people like to be so forward. I had another guy reach out to me telling me his life story about how he's interested at a job that's available at my current employer.
Yeah.
And he really wants the job because he's trying to get his PR status back in Canada because he's trying to get back with his girlfriend.
What?
Like,
my gosh.
first and foremost, I appreciate him opening up to
Let's
me.
have him on the podcast.
We should. But you don't know. Like,
Yeah.
why would you do that? Like, why would you open up your entire life to somebody because you want an intro to an employer?
A job. Okay, tell him about yours today.
Please.
Yeah, I had this guy add me today, and he sent me a message, and it was like,
Celebrity Josh.
it was like, oh, it's tax season. Do you need help with your taxes? Me and my team can cover you. And it was like, whatever his name is, /accounting.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, you're making an animated short and you need a voiceover? I can help you with that.
What?
His name /voiceovers. It was like every skill you could think of. Oh, you need like business advice?
This one guy?
One
Yeah.
guy.
He was like,
I'm like,
here's one
pick
that's like
a
real
specialty,
estate.
dude.
Pick a vertical and just run with it. Oh my God.
Just went with every
It was
single
like
one.
15 different business tactics by one person.
Was there any of those 15 that intrigued you? Like, oh, maybe I do need
No,
that.
I just read the message and I'm like, what is this guy? Like, how is he good at all these things? Because they
my
were like
God.
completely opposite ends. It wasn't like social media and like business. It was
real estate and taxes.
voiceovers, tactics, acting coach,
Oh
like
my
all
God.
sorts of stuff. I was
It's like, I get you're a jack of
probably
all
not.
trades, but come
Yeah.
on. It's like, hey, he's like, one of these is bound to stick.
Yeah.
I'm bound to
Someone
make
will
some
click
money
on
somehow. So, just to close things off on this topic, what would be your piece of advice that you'd give somebody who is probably trying to find that balance of self-promotion, but also mixing it in with a little bit of humility?
I think, like
And this
I
may or
said,
may not be for me. Anyways. I'm exposing myself, everyone.
I mentioned this before, but I think just seeing how your audience is reacting to what you're posting is a huge way to tell whether or not it's enjoyable to them and whether you've crossed the line or not. So take advice that people are giving you in the comments, and if they like the content that you're doing, then stick to it. And if it's overkill, I'm sure somebody's going to let you know. So
Yeah.
I
take
think
the advice from the people around you.
and if they unfollow you, probably sometimes it's not a negative thing because that wasn't your target audience. So you'll make it up in the right people.
Yeah.
In the end.
That's fascinating that you mentioned that, because and again, I'm surprised it never crossed my mind, but for the most part, people who are following you are interested in the content you're putting out. And to your point, they're going to unfollow when they're not interested.
Yeah.
And same goes when you put a product and service out, right? They're not going to use it,
Yeah.
unless it has value to them.
And so you just can't take it all personally.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I wanted to thank the both of you for joining us here on New Theory Radio to talk all things social media. I feel like we can do like a whole series on this,
Let's
just
do it.
peeling back the onion and just dissecting people with
There's
followers.
so much to talk
I
about.
feel like on the next episode we should find an influencer and we should dissect their following and be like, that's a fake, that's real,
I would love
that's a
that.
bot.
Suppose.
Why don't we bring some info? We can bring some info.
Yeah.
some fake ones.
No.
You can bring real
We
ones
can
and
bring
dissect
influencers
their
and-
following.
Oh my God.
They can talk.
And I'm also convinced that the digital influencer is going to be on the rise. I think it's going to
I need to
happen.
follow that girl.
It's going to
Never heard of
happen.
it.
That's crazy. Can't believe
it blows
that.
my mind that that's a thing.
Wow. So if any of the listeners want to connect with either one of you, Jennifer, how can they connect with you?
Jennifer
On LinkedIn.
Zies on Twitter or LinkedIn, Jennifer Zies.
Send her everything that you do. She'll find a job for you.
I'm only on Twitter, Nataleigh B.
Really?
My Instagram is private, actually.
It is?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm too nervous.
Really? It wasn't always
pressure?
private.
Yeah.
It's
have
always been
LinkedIn?
private?
Time. I have LinkedIn. Oh yeah, Nataleigh Ballantyne on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pressure of people writing negative comments of me and
She
my
won't
friends.
even let me follow her.
Yeah, that's
People
not a
do
lie.
that to you?
I don't know. That's
Oh,
I'm too
okay.
nervous.
I was going to say, I was like, that's so
Yeah,
sad.
Jen doesn't.
She's been
I
my
won't let people
Like we DM on Instagram every day, but I don't follow her.
for no reason. My content's like not aggressive.
I've seen the content.
Yeah, your content's like very like friends and family related
yeah,
though.
exactly. So
Like
I
it's just you living your best
can't
life.
sell
It's just-
anything.
it's all
just
in
my
her head.
homies.
What kind of content do you post, Jennifer? I got to follow you.
Lots of selfies.
I don't know. You're one of
No.
those.
They
kidding.
perform the best though, to be honest.
I honestly deleted my Instagram at Christmas.
Whoa,
She did.
you're on a
I
cleanse
really,
too, eh?
Really, really regretted it.
Yeah.
So I just restarted, and I don't have much on.
Because it deleted. Like she deleted.
Like all your photos are gone?
Her account. Like,
What?
Started again.
I thought you, because remember Facebook used to be able to take a break and all
30
your,
days or something you had.
wow,
Yeah.
that's so crazy.
But I kind of envy that. Like, imagine you just got a fresh Instagram.
That's true too. You start
Because
from
if you
scratch.
started now, though, I feel like it would be so. If I started a new Nataleigh Instagram, it would just be so strategic and branded and just business.
And then would your
stuff.
followers stay the same?
Well,
No.
why? Because like,
It's,
No, no, no.
Start from scratch.
Oh, so you're literally starting from scratch
Yeah.
to the point your followers
Yeah,
are gone
so-
too.
Yeah.
Crazy!
Back
Wow,
to nothing.
wow. I thought because the way I thought about it is, especially when you have artists who make that transition of getting signed to a major label, who maybe had a more personal social media account.
they
That's
just
probably what they
delete
do.
all the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Or they create a
Would
separate
you
account.
follow me if I started a new one that was like just mostly business? I think I just couldn't do it.
What would you
Well,
post?
well, because I know you personally, like business hasn't what, like business
I
has
don't know.
promoting
like
what you
social,
do,
I guess. Yeah, like influencer.
like a influencer business person.
Yeah,
I probably would because I know that's your specialty,
but like
and I know
not
you can
as much
talk about it.
boxing. I would probably keep boxing. Never mind.
I feel like the boxing adds balance
To make it like I'm real.
to your grind.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Keep that in mind.
So I do CrossFit, but I've kind of shied away from posting CrossFit videos because I've seen some real CrossFit videos and I'm not there yet. So
Yeah,
I
but
won't
didn't
do
you
it.
just do a competition?
I'm doing the CrossFit Open.
Yeah, amazing.
It's whipping my ass. Got another. Actually, the new workout should be out by now. But I'm not looking forward to it. But I'm actually will be doing an episode on CrossFit very soon.
CrossFit is fascinating to me.
It is. It's an interesting fitness regime. But I want to thank the both of you for joining us here on New Theory Radio, and I want to thank you for listening. If you want to connect with New Theory Radio, it's at New Theory Radio on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Come get our likes up. We want to grow organically, not the fake way, but the right way. As well, you can hit me up on social media, and you can be a part of the many bots that follow me on both Twitter and Instagram. It's at Nav Nanwa on Instagram and at nnanwa on Twitter. I know that's like poor social media etiquette to have two different handles for your social media feeds. But at nnanwa is already taken on Instagram. Someone in Africa has it, which is interesting. But
It's okay.
I should probably DM him and be like, hey, can I pay for that?
Remember when Drake didn't have Drake?
Yeah, because he had Drake Guard Noir
Yeah.
for a while. Then he eventually got it.
That person must have made so much money.
Totally. 100%.
Let's go home and buy a bunch of Instagrams and domains that
Let's
might
do it.
need to be purchased.
Just put the word Lil and then put like a drug name beside it, and I'm sure you'll find something based on
I
hip-hop
saw
world.
one of those names. What was it? It was like Lil Windex or something.
No way.
I was like, this can't be real. I hope it's not real. I hope it's a meme, but it stuck out to me and I just remembered it. I hate that.
Your new nickname is officially Lil Windex.
You are now Lil Windex.
That is so funny. On that note, I have to end this. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you'll hear all of us next time. Peace.